Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore, and I'm so happy to have my buddy, Mr. Jody, in the building. What's up, Jody?
What's good? What's good? I'm back. What's happening? Let's get some real talk popping.
While we can't talk live, and as long as we do, you're still here, and I appreciate it. So I'm going to do an impromptu real talk. Oh yeah, it's the same graphic. It just has sound effects. But I'm so happy to be here with Jody because I have an issue, Jody. I have an issue with The Bachelor, but it involves race, and I want to make sure I brought in someone of the other race so I could make sure I'm not saying something ignorant or stupid. But Jody, before I get to this topic, I want to explain why I like The Bachelor, okay? To me, The Bachelor is guilty pleasure junk food. I don't watch The Bachelor for anything serious. I don't watch The Bachelor for true love. I watch The Bachelor because once in a while I want to turn my brain off and watch garbage. So as recently as this show has sort of turned into an outrage show about race relations, etc., I've been massively frustrated because I'm like, they're not doing anything in this show that they haven't done to every other Bachelor and Bachelorette in history, which is exploit them for ratings. And so what's problematic for me of this season is I've tuned in for my junk food, and I'm being told that, you know, oh no, this is all terrible, and this is racist, and they should be editing this out of the show, and why'd they do this, and why'd they do that, and oh my God, Chris Harrison should be fired, I can't watch a show with Chris Harrison now. And it's gotten to a point where I'm just getting very frustrated that my stupid junk food that's always, anybody who's ever watched the show knows, it's exploited reality TV at its worst. No one who, maybe two people in its 40-year history have ever managed to stay together through this show. Of course, it's not real love. It's manipulative producing from the behind the scenes to just sort of have people end up getting Instagram famous, and that's what this show's about. And it's about this sort of echo chamber of these people who come into the show thinking they're going to find love, but the majority of these people really know they're going to build a brand on Instagram, etc., and be able to be social media people who can get sort of deals and followings and go travel and show off clothes. Jody, that's really, if we're being real about what The Bachelor is, that's really what The Bachelor is. Jody, last night on the show, he has his final 3 women, and he's out in the fantasy suite sleeping with all 3 of these women, telling them each that he loves them, and then proceeding to go to the next one. How is that a love story? It's not. It's completely ridiculous. So
you think he's really having sex with him?
Oh yeah. Oh totally. Yes. It's totally. So they close the door and they're making out in the bed. Like it's implied enough.
Oh, okay.
Now,
all right.
This was a big deal, Jody, because this was the historic season, as they've been calling it themselves. The historic first season with the first black Bachelor. But they did have a previous black star, and that was Rachel Lindsay. Now I've downloaded a lot of the most important intel for Jody because I know he doesn't watch. And for those of you who are like, Andy, oh my God, why are you talking about The Bachelor? Bear with me. I'm going to show you the most important parts, but I want to get to these 2 big parts, and I want to get Jody's reaction because I'm getting fed up. And this instance last night, which Jody doesn't know about, and I want to show him, is where I was my last straw. Now, Rachel and Matt, the black Bachelor, is saying he was uncomfortable with the episode airing this segment with his father. Now, Rachel, who's the first black Bachelorette, she's been very vocal in all of this because she was also the one who got Chris Harrison fired. She's the one who was doing an interview on Extra with Chris Harrison, and he made some comments, and I'll get to that too. But that's where this all stemmed from. Since that sort of thing she did with Chris and the attention she's gotten, she's been amping up her own podcasts and appearances and being out there calling out The Bachelor every chance she gets, and clearly riding her own clout with it to an extent. Now, last night's example, though, is to me the most important one to share, just because to me it shows the hypocrisy in Rachel Lindsay. And maybe I'm wrong, Jody, so please educate me if I'm wrong. But let me present my case, and then I'm going to come to you for your side. So here's what happened last night. Matt brought on his dad. His dad's black. His mom's white. His dad wasn't around. And so the scene was pretty intense, but it was also, when I watched it with my girl last night, we were like, why are we watching this? This is so private. It's none of my business. Why are we doing this? And so Rachel Lindsay made the comment, and I'm not going to deny everybody. I agree. It felt too private, et cetera, et cetera. But to be clear, cameras are there. Matt knows the camera's there. This was not some hidden camera thing. He knows his dad's there. He knows the camera's there. He knows he's invited his dad to be there and have this conversation. Matt has every decision and choice as to what he's going to talk about with his dad. You follow me so far, Jody?
But there's a pressure from producers and people behind the scenes to make these type of scenes happen. We have to understand that too.
But at the same time, you're on television.
He's a nobody, so he's probably inclined.
You see 3 cameramen around you in a production area. You've all done the quarantine. Okay. You know what's going on.
Let's see what he said. All right, what's going on?
So Matt then proceeded to sort of have a really touching moment with his dad. And in that moment really talked about, how, you weren't there for me. And sort of, it's a really, I don't have the moment itself, but the moment itself was heated. Like, the dad is clearly nervous, doesn't want, like, why are you doing this to me on TV? And he's like, and Matt's like, I have insecurities in my own relationships because of the fact that you weren't there. I didn't need pizza. I needed you. I didn't need shoes. I needed a dad. And you were never there for me as a dad. And why'd you cheat on mom, et cetera, et cetera. Like, intense private moment between him and his father that I agree was too private. And so the reality is Rachel was very upset, and Rachel called this out. She said, I am disturbed by Matt James's conversation with his dad and why they did it. So I want to go to Rachel directly. So here's the clip of now Rachel the next day, who said she was done dishing on The Bachelorette, lied. Here she is jumping on another show to chime in on her thoughts because she was so upset. Now let's hear from her words, and I'm going to share something.
The Bachelor franchise has shown us anything, it's that they don't know how to protect people of color. They only know how to exploit them. They only know how to mishandle situations when they come to race. That is what they've shown us time and time again. This should have never been aired for America to see. And for people who would say that we're exaggerating or we're making a bigger deal of this, this is one of those times where you should just sit and listen to what people who have been stereotyped in this way have to say. The stereotype of Black fathers being absentee and Black children being fatherless is deeply rooted in American society. And the fact that we don't know, as we've said earlier, we don't know much about Matt. Mm-hmm. But what we do know is that he fits into one of these stereotypes that we have for Black people. People who assume certain things of the Black family. And now we meet his father for the first time. And Matt and he and Matt are having this full out argument about how he wasn't around.
Yeah.
And I know what producers would probably say about this, but the fact that this conversation may have been necessary for Matt. Let's just say that. Maybe Matt really did need this. But
Absolutely,
this was a conversation that should have just been for Matt.
Agreed.
Not for the rest of the world to see.
Yeah.
And it shows that you don't care about your contestants, specifically the ones of color. Yeah. The fact that you were more so willing to throw him under the bus and exploit him and stereotypes within the Black community for what you would call, quote, good TV.
Now, Jody, I don't disagree with a lot of what she's saying, but here's my hang up. She's making it about race. She's making it about this stereotype of how dare they do this to the first Black Bachelor and the thing. Now, what I need to put you out is this is not the first time they've done this, Jody. Back in the season with Dean, who was white, Bachelor Nation fans thought they exploited Dean and his absentee father. Now, they did this on the show, and guess who was the Bachelorette of this season with Dean? Oh, it was Rachel. Rachel's season had Dean, and here she is. Tell me about.
Can I ask you how it happened?
Tell me about how your mom died and how she died of cancer. This moment with Dean, I remember having the exact same thoughts that I had with Matt. This is too private.
Was it hot, like Matt's scene?
I don't need to see this. Talking about his mother, how his mother died, and then how his dad wasn't there for him. Oh, well, Jody, they leaned in harder because then guess what happened? Dean went and confronted his dad live on the show. Same season as Rachel. His absentee dad, who was, what, dude, I don't know what. His father was of the Sikh Kundalini Yogi convert, goes by the name Pararump Singh, whatever, before his hometown visit. They hadn't seen each other in years, and this visit proved to be tense. During a private conversation, Dean asked his father if he understood the pain and frustration he was going through after his mom died. When mom passed, I was a 15-year-old. Jody, it was equally as intense and serious. And so here's Rachel on her own damn season. What my whole point is, they exploit everybody. This show exploits anybody who will come through the doors and sign the contract. And for Rachel to even forget on her own season that they did the same damn thing to Dean, to me, is where the problem is. Now, look, the fact that this is a problem in the African-American community, look, great. Then even more power for Matt doing that publicly. Matt is an adult. Matt knew exactly what he signed up for. Matt chose to have the conversation go where it went. He knew the cameras were there. For Rachel to spin this to racism and that the show is racist and all this stuff, look, it very well may be for other things, but when they bring up examples like this, I get so frustrated because whether that's right or wrong, I am a scholar of The Bachelor, Jody. And my point is, I've seen this happen countless times. They always go to private moments. They go, whether it's parents who weren't there, whether it's deaths, whether it's virginities, so many uncomfortable cringe, I call it, moments that sometimes even I want to turn it off. It's happened every season. The most shocking event yet is what they sort of call this show. So where I get frustrated is, how is You haven't seen the show, to be fair. You didn't see the clip. But the clip with Matt and his father ends very positively. His dad is upset. He's upset. But they end up sort of having a moment where his dad apologizes and says, "You're right, son." And they embrace. And he's like, "I want to be there for you more." It was a positive outcome at the end. They didn't try to spin it or make it about race. And this idea that, well, we don't know anything else about Matt or his dad. I don't know anything about any of these contestants. There are 40 people on this show, Jody. They never give us that much backstory in these people. So where I'm frustrated is like, I don't believe this was the intent here was to be racist. Now, could something have happened that clearly upset Rachel and some others? Fine. I hear it. But do you see where I'm coming from of the frustration or the hypocrisy of like, in her own season, they did the same damn thing. They did the same damn thing where a contestant is in a private moment that, hello, the fans clearly, even back then, you were there, Rachel, were upset and said this shouldn't have aired. So where's the line? So are we supposed to, Jody, protect the black audience and the black contestant because this is a historic season? And no, we're not going to exploit him and his dad. But the white guys, sure, that's fair game. On Rachel's season, yeah. I don't understand. This is, to me, where the hypocrisy happens, where she loses me. Because there are some things she said that I hear her, and I'm like, all right, fair. But now it feels like she's just out there for social justicing, for podcast gaining, for stuff where I'm like, really? This is now where you're going to... She literally said, Jody, I'm done talking about The Bachelor. But now I couldn't resist because I'm horrified. Her own words, I'm mortified. I felt it in my soul and I had to speak out because I'm so disturbed at what I just watched take place on the Bachelor stage. I mean, you had it happen on your season. I'm so sick of this hypocrisy. And so I want to stand up for race. I want to defend Rachel Lindsay. I want to be there and be like, yeah, let's change. I believe there are movements and things happening in our country where we do need to change. But when I see stuff like this, I get so mad because this is a loss of actual focus on what's important. So sorry I need to get my rant off, but I'm glad you're here. Am I crazy? I know you don't speak for all black people, Jody, but as a black man, please, and what are your thoughts on this? And am I going nuts? Does this seem like a double standard?
No, I feel like you're missing something very simple. You're missing something very simple that will bring understanding to the situation. Yes, they do exploit everybody on these television shows. Reality TV is exploiting everybody. But just because you exploit everybody, when a black person comes up, your sensitivity level needs to... They didn't adjust their sensitivity level, even though it's something that they've been doing consistently. I'll give you an example. There was a H&M advertisement of clothes for kids. And this kid was advertised in a new monkey suit, but the kid was black. You know, if you put the monkey suit on the white kid, it's not a problem. But there's a stigma around blacks being called monkeys and baboons and stuff. Sure. So when you put it on a black kid, it automatically looks racist. I agree with her 100%. There is a stigma out there about black men not being in the black family. That's a real thing. That is a stereotype. It's a statistic as well, but it's a negative one. It makes us look bad out here. So even though The Bachelor is a place that exploits everybody, you exploit the Indian, you exploit the white dad, you exploit the Chinese dad, whatever. There's no stigmas in those races with the missing father. As soon as a black man comes up, you need to be like, okay, well, that's kind of racist. Let me give you another example. If there's 5 babies right there and they're all equally adorable to me, and I'm Santa, and there's 5 little 2-year-olds and they're all adorable. I pick up the Chinese baby. I'm like, oh, what a cute little monkey you are. Ah, Santa loves you. Then I pick up the white one. Oh, look at you, cute little monkey. Ooh, you little monkey. Ah, there you go. Then I pick up that black one. Oh, what a cute little monkey you are. Boom. You're being insensitive. You should have realized and understood there's a negative connotation around calling anybody or referencing any person of color, especially black, to a monkey. So even though you're calling them all monkeys, as soon as this black one come up, you need to be more socially aware of what's going on. You can't call that black one a monkey. Just like when you bring this black bachelor on, even though there's white bachelors that have been exposed to their fathers, when this black one show up, you got to understand that there is that stigma about the missing black father. So they should have paused. They should have hit the brakes on it. They shouldn't have done it. And then when you add to the fact that this is the first black bachelor, and they're already bringing up my man's dad and confronting him on camera, it's a bad look. And I agree with Rachel 100% on that factor. Now, Rachel out here clout chasing. Rachel wants to further her career. Rachel's looking for stuff to make her relevant, all that stuff too. So she's out for her own gain. But what she's saying, using what the path she's using to get to her clout is not false. It's actually true. And I think The Bachelor looks bad by doing this, by having that black man on there arguing with his father and shit. It's not a good look.
Well, look, that's why I want to have you here, because I want to hear all the sides. Where I'm confused is it sort of comes with the standard of the show. They meet the parents, and he literally makes a part of every conversation he has moving forward with the three remaining girls, where he says, like, look, I have intimacy issues because I haven't been with my dad. Da, da, da. He makes it part of the narrative. So the problem is, like, are we just supposed to not go there? Are we supposed to just censor that part out because he's black and that's a stereotype? Or is there a way to maybe they could have handled it better, is how maybe Rachel could have done this better.
Yes.
I've said, look, we got to make sure if you do it. But the problem is it's a show you're editing, just like you've edited every other show. I didn't feel like I didn't know of the stereotype. I didn't see of that, but I hear what you're saying. Like, it's something that obviously upsets the community, and it's not something you want to highlight. I don't feel like the show was highlighting it. I feel like Matt
definitely was.
But Matt brought up an issue personal to him, is how I saw it. I saw this man as his dad. I saw this as Matt and his son.
He's black, Andy. He's black. And
right, but Dean was white.
Different.
But Dean was white. My point is, I didn't see that. Now, I understand that's what you're saying. There's nuances and things we have to understand. So I respect that. But I'm just like, what is the show supposed to do when that's the issue? So pause and don't show the dad. Just don't have him show up, even though
you
it's
can
a
show
clear
the dad.
problem.
But having that argument like that, Andy, you and I both know there's a producer behind those cameras that manipulate that whole scene. We're gonna go in the forest. We're gonna have 3 cameras. All right, you're gonna hit your dad about this or whatever. We're gonna have this is a perfect confrontation zone. Come on, man. You know they manipulate this stuff. So they could have done it more gracefully. They could have been like, look, I understand. We have to understand America's watching. You are the first black bachelor. We understand that there's a stigma out there, and we don't want to make it look like a shouting match between you and your black father.
But
Let's just go ahead and have a regular conversation like that.
It wasn't a shouting match, just so we're clear. And here's him sort of commenting on it. Tonight's combo with my dad was hard to experience, and it's just hard to watch all this time later, especially knowing the world is watching with me. I just want to say that too often we see dangerous stereotypes and negative depictions of black fathers in media, and they have consequences when presented without context. And he shares this resource that talks about it and the media's portrayal of it. All I hope is that people watch that conversation with nuance, care, and also understanding that there are real systematic issues at play. I'm so proud of myself for being vulnerable, and I'm so proud of my mother. I wouldn't be who I am without my dad. That's a fact. Look, to me, the moment was actually special. Like, it was uncomfortable because it was private, but I didn't see it as a negative depiction. I saw it as, yes, this happened, and they were addressing it publicly to sort of come to terms. Now, should this have been private? Sure, but all of them should have been private. There's so many moments in the show that should be private.
We know this is a PC statement. After the show comes out, he's going to come out and be upset.
Right, but my problem is he knew what he was doing.
You could clearly tell he didn't like this. He didn't like the conversation. He didn't like how it looked on TV. I could tell by reading these 3 tweets.
But he knew it was on TV, Jody. That's my problem. Now, I hear you. It shouldn't. Maybe this is an issue that
there's an immense amount of pressure being on a reality show. You're not an actor. You're on a reality show. The director's telling you to do this. You're going to do it. A producer's telling you what the setup. You're going to just go with the flow, and you don't want to be. Here's another stereotype. That's a problem. You don't want to be the angry black man who doesn't want to do something. You understand? Like, there's if you're black, there's so many walls that you can get smacked with. Let's say he says, "No, I don't want to do this, man. I don't want to do this with my dad like that on public for y'all." Oh, why not? Why not? Dave Chappelle talked about this all the time. How they wanted to put him in a dress in Blue Streak, and Dave Chappelle said, "No, I don't want to do the bliss." Oh, come on, Dave, I don't want to do it. Fine, you're being so difficult. Then you got that difficulty labeling. We talked about this with Will Smith and Aunt Viv. When you're black and you're labeled difficult, you don't want to work well with. Oh, you're the mad black guy. Oh, you're the mad black woman. Now you're dealing with that. So it's not. When he comes into the show, he is not operating on the same fair level that all the other contestants were operating on before him. Because he's black, there's so much baggage that comes with him that you gotta navigate through the desert, bro. There's booby traps all up in the sand, and you gotta try to make the right step.
Sure. all right, I hear you. I still think he's a smart guy. He knows the cameras are there. He may not have to say no, but he doesn't have to then go down and actually do the line of questioning that he did. Like, he could have chosen to make that private, is all I'm saying. He didn't have to be difficult about it. He didn't have to be angry about it. When the father showed up, he could have just had a super boring conversation, or how you doing? Great. Yeah, I'm really nervous, Dad. I don't know what to do. It's a very easy switch to, like, turn on whether I'm going to make this personal or not. And I do think in that instance, he had every choice, and he chose to go there.
He stepped up and said something.
Yeah, and he could have done it without being angry or mad. I think the moment to me wasn't angry. It was sadness and frustration and a moment of privateness that I agree was too much. But all I'm saying is they do that across the board. So that's why I'm frustrated. Where it's like he's not calling it racist. Rachel Lindsay was.
Well, he's not yet.
Right. And maybe Matt will now, because Rachel's kicked up the dust to sort of allow him to do it, but he's still on the show. But that's
Plus,
sort of
the
where
show's
things
still
are
going
going.
on, right?
Correct. There's one more season. And anyway, so look, so that's one story. Interesting. I appreciate the insight. That does help me sort of see a little bit more to it. I'm curious what you guys down there think. If you haven't yet subscribed to Real Talk like this, always, it happens once in a while, hit the subscribe button, smash that bell to all alerts, smash that like button. I love when Jody's here because we can have that civil dialogue and I can learn. He can hear me. That's what this is all about. So if you came in from Bachelor Nation and you're hearing our discussion, have it down below civilly. Don't be mean to each other. But that's the point. I want to watch something dumb and junk food, and this is becoming very serious. And there's clearly people who are watching it. And I think a lot of people who came in because of the historic reasoning and don't really even know what this show is about. So I do think, I hear you, but I think you heard me too. There is some clout chasing on Rachel's part, and there's definitely some there's some other stuff here.
She's definitely out for her own look.
To echo that, let's move on to issue 2 before we wrap this up. Now, Chris Harrison, the host of The Bachelor for all, whatever it's been, 30 years, is now stepping down amid controversial comments that she made
he lost his
with
job.
Rachel Lindsay in the interview. Now, I played the clips for Jody. I can't play them here because they ding me. Extra won't let me play the clips. You can go find them yourself. But Jody, you heard the clips and you saw what it was. Now people are trying to cancel him. While he's stepped down, he's trying to come back. He's apologizing like crazy. He went on GMA. I stand against all racism. I'm going to do everything I can. He's done everything he can now to try to keep. He's like, I hope to come back. I'm imperfect. I made mistakes. You've seen all the footage, Jody. So you know a little bit of the backstory. Yeah. I'm just finding this so frustrating because
this is whack.
What Chris said, I agree, he was definitely a little rude. He definitely was over talking. That might have been the Zoom. He was definitely sort of speaking down to Rachel in a way. I do see that. At the same time, he was a guest on there. He was answering the questions, and he was clearly defending this contestant, Rachel Kirkconnell. Now, spoiler alert for the show, Rachel Kirkconnell is a white contestant who is a frontrunner in the show, who was caught liking some racist things, posting at an antebellum party, stuff that doesn't look good. But Rachel, again, spoiler alert, apparently wins. So this historical season, Jody, of the first Black Bachelor, he picks this contestant that everyone's labeling, not a good contestant to pick. And so clearly that, if now knowing that story, that's why Chris was out there trying to play, defense, like trying to make sure he was out there defending her. I was told she couldn't apologize because they wanted to save it for the show. And so she was on quiet even though she wanted to. And the show was like, no, you're not allowed to talk. And so Chris went out to talk on her behalf. And in doing so, when he went and did that to Rachel Lindsay, this blew up, and that's what caused Chris Harrison to get fired. Now, what's important? The one point I do want to mention is that he talks about the woke police and what's okay, whatever. But there's one specific quote he says, Jody, that I want to call out, and I want to play a clip, and then I want to get your thoughts. But talking about what Rachel did, these 2018 photos at the Old South and a Bellum party weren't a good look. Harrison responded, "Well, Rachel, is it a good look in 2018, or is it not a good look in 2021? Because there's a big difference." And then she goes, "It's not a good look because she's celebrating the Old South. If we went to that party, what would I represent?" And so that was sort of the big moment where he's sort of like, well, 2018 was different. We have a new lens now. Things are different. That's why. That's the specific sort of thing that really got him in hot water. So I want to play Rachel, another part of Rachel's podcast, where listen to what she does.
Good. But one of the things that I was afraid of is that people wouldn't get the issue with this, but we are living in a different time where people are more aware. And maybe 3 years ago, dare I say 2018, people wouldn't appreciate this conversation the same way. They wouldn't recognize it. But compared to now, there is a level of awareness, and we're talking about certain stereotypes that have perpetuated.
So wait, Jody, do my ears deceive me? Is Rachel admitting the same thing that Chris got in trouble with, that we are hearing things differently now than we did 3 years ago in 2018. Am I crazy?
She never disagreed with that in the initial interview, though.
That's what got him fired. He literally.
I don't think that's her fault. It's the network, whoever the heck fired him. That's
Rachel went on podcasts and interviews and said she was so mortified by what Chris said and how dare he. She was talking down to me. Those were racist comments. Why is he defending her? All this stuff was out there when he's saying the same thing she's saying. That this was a different lens back there. He made it very clear he did not support or condone Rachel.
He said it, right? She's saying it after he said 2018.
Yeah, she's saying this yesterday. She's
okay,
using.
So if she said it before, then she looks bad.
Well, but my point is that if Chris Harrison is indeed canceled, which a lot of people are trying to do, it's completely hypocritical of Rachel Lindsay because she's acknowledging the same thing he did, which is that there's a new lens now than there was 3 years ago, and that's just facts, right or wrong. That's just facts. And
well, I didn't see this her coming after him. You didn't show me those videos, but I saw the discussion that they had, and she was not attacking him in that interview at all. She was actually having good dialogue with the man. She wasn't playing like, oh my God, I feel like she was having a discussion trying to educate him, and he was educating her based on what he knows as well. It was just a discussion where he was insensitive because he doesn't understand, and she was trying to show him this is how it is. And then he was like, well, why is it this way? Because of this. And she wasn't completely just like, whoa, what do you mean? She probably agreed with it. She even said multiple times in the interview that she agreed with some of the things that he was saying.
All right, look, this stream has gotten so intense. We went into so many different ways. I had to make a different ending. Jody, there was too much real here to put out because nobody cares enough about The Bachelor on my channel to watch an hour-long video.
Right.
But if you want to watch Bachelor talk with Jody and I, where we really get into the real talk, you want to go watch the members-only portion to watch the whole unedited version of this because it is strict. It is legit. Real talk. We went all over the place. So go watch that, but I had to trim this. If you want to hear us talk about The Bachelors, which one Jody wants to do and who's going to like and what happened, who's going to win, we talk more about Chris Harrison and that firing and was it all that stuff. We get into so much, the parties. Jody schools me. You're not going to watch the full version of this. So go hit the join button if you haven't already. Become a member to catch that real talk when you can. Jody, always good to have you back. So happy to be here. I love come. You know, I'm welcome here always, and tell me when you need me anytime. I'll be there. I cannot wait to see your coverage of the Snyder Cut. It is coming. I heard good things, Jody. I did too. I've heard a couple good things, so we'll have to see. All I know is I don't support the leak. I think that was super shady of them. But we'll see. I cannot wait to see this coverage. Warner Brothers is the worst. But stay tuned. I cannot wait to hear Jody's reaction. Go check out Jody's Corner. I'm sure we'll do something together at some point after that's all said and done. I can't wait to do it. In the meanwhile, check out Jody's Corner. Check out Popcorn Planet. Hit that subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. And stay tuned for more here on Popcorn Planet. And yeah, The Bachelor this Monday. It's going to be fire. I might have to do a stream afterwards. Stay tuned. Thanks, everybody.